Everybody, round of applause. I've had the distinct privilege to work alongside the Beto for Texas campaign for a little over a month now. And in that time, I've learned a lot of really important lessons, such as the importance of youth here. Because such as myself, I'm 19 years old. I'm just not getting to the circuit of politics and just figuring out how all that goes. I look in the crowd, I see so many young people, and I see the future of Texas right here in this floor. So a round of applause for all of you. Now, I'd like to highlight what makes Beto's campaign important. He is the candidate that I have been searching for since I was young. I see Beto, even though he doesn't look like me, I know he represents those that look like me. Thank you so much for that. And as somebody, especially, well, I'll say here, I am a straight man, right? And I have a bunch of friends that are part of the LGBTQ plus community. In Beto's campaign, I see not only a tolerance, but an acceptance of those people as well. Thank you so much. Now, I don't want to waste too much of your time. I'm sure you're here to see the man. So, it is my distinct honor, probably my best pleasure of the year. Sorry, I'm pretty nervous. But from the very bottom of my heart, I'd like to welcome Mr. Beto O'Rourke.
Let's hear it from Benicio. I think I speak for all of us. We're behind you in whatever you do next. Whatever career, whatever passion you pursue, whatever public office you might be able to run for. James Tallarico, perhaps the best politician I've met who's working in the state legislature right now. Maybe we can get him on your team as well because he's been amazing for us. Ladies and gentlemen, sometimes we take for granted those that we know well, and the familiarity that you have with James Tallarico may have blinded us to just how exceptional this guy is. He was one of those who led the fight for the right to vote and our democracy last year when it was under attack in Texas, more so than it was anywhere else in America, maybe anywhere else in the free world for that matter. Along with his colleagues, they literally left the floor of the state legislature to deny the Republican majority a quorum that was trying to deprive you of your ability to cast a vote in a free and fair election. When a special session was called, he was one of the leaders who left the state of Texas, risking arrest, maybe his career in the process, to do the right thing, not for himself, but for all of us. He's pretty exceptional. And one of the things, many, that I love about Tallarico is that, yes, he can speak to those of us who are Democrats, and that's wonderful. We should never take our friends for granted. But what I always see him trying to do is to find the common ground with Republicans and independents and folks who may not think that voting matters much at all. Putting them in terms that all of us can understand, seeking to listen to and understand those that he wants to serve and to represent. And for me, that is the model for what we're trying to achieve in Texas right now. It's hard for me to think of a time in this state, and I just passed the half-century mark. I just turned 50 this month. I want you to count the gray hairs on his head. In my lifetime, I've never seen us attacking one another, being afraid of each other, hating people based on the differences that those in power seek to divide us upon, like we are seeing right now in the state of Texas. And I know, and you know, and we all feel this together, we are so much bigger, so much better than all this small stuff that may be reflective of Greg Abbott and those who are in power right now, but is not representative of those who are here and those who are not here for that matter, the 30 million people who call Texas home. This is a campaign for each and every single one of us. If you're a Republican, if you're a Democrat, if you're an independent, I want to serve you. And it doesn't matter, no me importa, if you vote for me or even if you vote at all. My responsibility is to serve you and to deliver for you and to do my best, my honest best, to bring us together in service of those things that none of us on our own would be able to do individually. Let me tell you who we're for, because very often in speeches like these, politicians start talking about who they're against and the villains and the evil people and the bad guys and the bad gals that we've got to overcome and defeat. But I think this moment where we are trying to find that common ground and unity, we should speak to what we want to achieve and who we are doing this for. Let me begin by talking about those who find themselves under attack in the state of Texas in an unprecedented way, at least in my 50 years on this planet. For example, women and girls who for the first time in their lives are unable to have full reproductive health care and bodily autonomy. And it's nuts to me that in the year 2022, in the great country of America, the greatest state in the Union, we have a total abortion ban. There's no exception for rape. There's no exception for incest. And listen, I've listened to you and to doctors and medical providers. There's really functionally, effectively no exception for the life of the woman or the mother in this state right now. And we here in Austin, in Texas, are at the epicenter of a maternal mortality crisis that is 3 times as deadly for black women in the state of Texas. This, I guarantee you, will cost the lives of more of our fellow Texans right now. So let us begin by talking about who we are for. We are for every woman making her own decisions about her own body, her own future, and her own health care. Every single woman. Thinking about the fact that yesterday marked 19 weeks to the day that 19 children and their 2 teachers were taken from us by an 18-year-old man in this state who could legally buy not 1, but 2 AR-15s. Now this is a firearm that half a century ago was designed, developed, engineered, sold to the United States Army to be able to kill enemy soldiers at 500 yards, to penetrate a steel helmet and take that guy down dead. That weapon used against kids who were 10 and 11 years old, who had nothing on their heads but a baseball cap, not at 500 yards, but at 5 feet, whose bodies, when recovered, could only be recognized by the shoes that they were wearing or the DNA swab that was taken to match it against their parents. Absolutely defenseless against that, and against a governor and those in power who will not lift a finger to make it any less likely that it happens to any other young child in any other classroom, in any other community, in any other part of the state of Texas right now. Under this governor, gun violence has now become the leading cause of death for children and teenagers across the state of Texas. More school shootings in this state than in any other in the Union. Homicides up 50% because the only thing he did after 23 of my neighbors were gunned down in El Paso for looking too Mexican and looking too much like an immigrant was to sign into law something known as permitless carry that allows anyone now to carry a firearm on our streets loaded without a background check, any vetting, any training whatsoever. That's what our kids are up against right now. And listen, on a very personal note, my wife Amy and I are raising 3 kids in El Paso, 3 beautiful, amazing, extraordinary kids who are fully conscious about what is happening right now at this moment. Their eyes are on me, by extension, on all of us, that 15, 14, and 11-year-old. Know full well that they started this school year no better protected than those kids in Uvalde ended their school year on the 24th of May, 2022. In other words, this is on our watch. And though great habit may have brought us to this point, what we do next will define us and determine our future forever going forward. Not only must we win this election, But we have to prioritize the lives of those kids over the interests of the NRA or the gun lobby or anyone else for that matter, certainly any politician or political poll. This moment more than any other calls on us to do the right thing at the right time for those who do not get a vote or a voice in this election, but through our actions. Here are some ideas that I've heard by listening to you, gun owners, Republicans, non-gun owners, Democrats, big city kids, those who live in rural communities. One, at a minimum, let's raise the age of a purchase for an AR-15 to at least 21. I don't know that there's any good civilian use for a weapon of war, but on this much, there's common ground, consensus, and agreement, and that means action. Second, a red flag law so that law enforcement, through due process, can intervene before it's too late. If someone has that firearm in their home and they're saying, you know what, I think I might kill myself, or I might kill my wife, or I might take that gun into this school and kill little kids, as the shooter in Uvalde did before he ever walked into Robb Elementary. His friends called him the school shooter long before he ever took the life of a 10 or an 11-year-old child there. A red flag law allows us to retrieve that firearm and prevent that massacre before it is too late. It would have averted El Paso. The gunman in that instance, his mother called the Allen Police Department and said, officer, what in the hell does my son need with this AK-47? And she may also have signaled some other signs of distress in his life, but because we don't have a red flag law, there's nothing they can do. I'm sorry, ma'am, you're on your own. Good luck, goodbye. 650 miles later, he posts a manifesto online saying that he has come to repel the invasion of Hispanics. He was warned we're going to take over the state of Texas. And in a community that doesn't lose 20 people to murder in a year, so damn peaceful, not in spite of, but because we're a city of immigrants, he killed 23 people in a matter of minutes. A red flag law might very well have saved their lives. And then there's this, a universal background check. This makes so much common sense, it begs the question, why have we not gotten this done yet? If you go to a gun shop right now here in Austin, you will go through a background check, and by and large, it will work. But if you fail that background check, you are free to buy the same weapon from a private seller, no questions asked. That's what happened in Midland, Odessa, 2019, a month after El Paso. 8 people in that community were killed as a result of that. Universal background checks, they'll save lives. And look, I'm well aware that we're all familiar with Uvalde, with El Paso, with Midland, Odessa, with Sutherland Springs, with Santa Fe High School. Those massacres make the news. The faces of those children whose lives we lost, we'll never forget them. But all the time, right here in Austin, and in Houston, and in El Paso, and in San Antonio, the Rio Grande Valley, the Panhandle, across this state, people, especially young people, are dying from gun violence, and it has become so numbingly common that their names never make the newspaper. We never see their faces on the nightly news. It is almost as though we've accepted this as the price of doing business or living, or some people dying in the state of Texas. It doesn't have to be our future. It is not our fortune, and it is not our fate, but it is upon each one of us to make sure that we do all we can with what we have, where we are, to change this. James said this earlier, there are folks in yellow reflective vests all among us right now. On each one of their clipboards are open shifts to knock on the doors of those voters who can decide whether our kids will continue to die in their classrooms, or whether they can focus on the things that we want them to be paying attention to. Getting their homework in, passing the test, going to homecoming as my kids did this last Saturday. That's the stuff I was focused on when I was 14 and 15 years old. But it's on us. It's on you and me. I'm for the member of the LGBTQ community right now who not only, after Clarence Thomas's consenting opinion in the Dobbs decision, realizes that Texas, if we don't change course, will take the lead in ending marriage equality, reviving the sodomy laws on the books in Texas to cancel same-sex intimacy, and also to end the right to contraception in the state of Texas. As I say this, it sounds ridiculous, and yet that also will be our future until we change course. And not only must we avert the bad shit coming down the pike, and we must, but we also have to take a look at where we are today. In Texas, though it's not okay, it is perfectly legal to fire somebody because they're gay, or not to hire them in the first place. In Texas, though we have 32,000 children in the worst run foster care program in the United States of America today, you can't legally be too gay to adopt one of them into your loving home. And we have a governor who has put a target on the backs of every transgender family, accusing those parents of child abuse for just trying to do the right thing for their kids. And the irony, as perverse and just damaging as it is, it's true. If that accusation is sustained, those kids are taken from that loving home and turned over to Child Protective Services, which has lost the lives of more than 100 children just since 2020 in the custody and care of the state of Texas. We must fight for each and every single one of us to be treated equally under the law, to rise to our full potential, to live up to our promise. And I want you to know, if you find yourself under attack in the state of Texas, we together have your back, and we're going to win this election for you. This is your state as well. We are for the educator at a time that public education has come under attack in the state of Texas. Don't you dare teach the true, full history and story of the state of Texas, because you'll be accused of teaching a graduate level CRT course to second graders and first graders in this state. You may be asked to turn in the parents of that transgender child that you were warned about by the governor, and you're doing this against extraordinary odds. On average, the Texas teacher is underpaid by $7,500 a year. On average, she or he is working 2 or 3 jobs to make ends meet. Now, $7,500 down in Austin, that's tough. Last night I was in Nacogdoches. The average teacher there is down $16,500 a year. No wonder we have an unprecedented exodus of educators from our classrooms. And obviously, who pays the price of this more than anyone else? It is that generation that is following us right now. And then by extension, it is all of us who will bear the brunt of this failure. So here are some solutions. Not only must we win this election together, we must pay every educator what they are worth so they don't have to work that second or third job. Retired educators, we have to make sure they have a cost of living adjustment so that they can enjoy their retirement. And here's something that I've heard from you. After 2 years of this pandemic that's claimed more than 100,000 lives in this state, a lot of those kids have experienced trauma that, for those of us who are older, we can only imagine. They've lost their grandparents, their folks may have lost their job, they as a family may have lost their homes. They are literally struggling to survive. And it's very often that classroom teacher or counselor or librarian or cafeteria worker or school bus driver who is keeping them with us right now at this moment. And what they tell me is, look, Beto, I never thought this was a good idea to begin with, but especially now, high stakes, high pressure, standardized tests, it doesn't effectively measure the potential of that child in my classroom, nor does it in any way reflect the effort I've expended on her behalf. We don't need that right now. I need to focus on these kids. So after we win, let us also cancel the STAR test in the state of Texas so teachers can teach and do their jobs. I'm for the person who has schizophrenia, bipolar disorder, clinical depression, and finds themselves living in the least insured state in America, whose #1 provider of mental health care services is the county jail system. Yesterday, again in Nacogdoches, after we had a chance to talk with everyone, folks came up to take a picture, shake hands, share a story. This woman came up and said, my brother was just diagnosed with schizophrenia. I said, how's he doing? She says, he's exactly who you're talking about. He's in the county jail here in Nacogdoches. It's the one place he's guaranteed any care. He makes too much to qualify for Medicaid in Texas. he doesn't make enough for private insurance, no matter how insufficient or immoral that care is, that is all he has until we make a change. I'm going to work with Representative Tallarico to get your federal income taxes back to Texas, $10 billion a year, to hire more providers, connect more people with care, ensure that we have insulin for everybody who has diabetes today in the state of Texas. Thanks to James for working on that. And the kicker is, we can lower your property taxes in the bargain, because right now all of us are on the hook for that guy in Nacogdoches who we pay $120 a night to keep locked up. For a fraction of that, if we expand Medicaid, we can get him consistent preventative care. There is no stopping that guy once he's healthy enough and well enough to finish his education, go to work, raise a family, whatever he was placed on this planet to do in the first place. We want to make sure that he can get it done. One last thing, and this is one, it doesn't matter whether I'm in rural Texas, urban Texas, listening and talking to Republicans or Democrats, I think we're on the same page for it. And that is to legalize marijuana across the state of Texas. For the adults in our lives, we spend right now $500 million locking people up for a substance that's legal in almost the entirety of the rest of this country. We lose out on another $500 million of tax receipts if we were able to tax the regulated, controlled sale of this substance. So many veterans, many among us right now, have come to me and said, hey Beto, if I'm lucky enough to get into the VA, I may be prescribed an opioid, to which I may become addicted, and from which I may die. There's this other thing that I can use, though, that relieves my symptoms, allows me to sleep, restores my appetite. Why am I a criminal in the eyes of the law? I think about that veteran. I think about black and brown Texans who approached me and said, hey Beto, Texans of all races, of all ethnicities, use marijuana at the same rate. And yet disproportionately black and brown Texans are stopped, are frisked, are incarcerated, and upon release forced to check a box on every employment application form, making it less likely that they get the job, harder to get a loan, harder to attend higher education in an institution like this one, because it is so hard to get past that mistake in your life. So in addition to legalizing marijuana, we're going to expunge the arrest records for anyone who has served time in possession of this substance in the state of Texas. Think about this agenda. We're talking about being for everyone everywhere, writing nobody off, leaving no one behind, making sure that you're healthy and well enough to rise to your full potential, that we have the best possible system of public education in the United States of America. We even talked about lowering your property taxes, getting on the right side of the law when it comes to cannabis and marijuana, listening to and working with one another, finding the common ground wherever it may lay across the state of Texas. That is who we are right now at this moment. That's who we can be for the next 4 years. But we must get past those who are in power right now, who seek to divide us based on our differences and keep us from our greatness. They can't keep the lights on when the temperature drops. They still have not fixed the grid, and we're no better prepared for this winter than we were the last one. They target those based on their differences and vulnerabilities, whether it's transgender children, whether it's immigrants coming here to this country. They see a Texas where it's either you or it's me, where we see one where it is you and me, all of us together. But again, to stress this and to land on this and to end this on this point, we are not going to win this through the candidate. We will not win this through the candidate's political party. The only way we come through at the end of the day, which is on November 8th, is through all of us, literally. I am asking you right now, as directly as I can, with as much urgency as I can muster, to sign up with one of our volunteers to knock on doors and meet those Texans who can decide the outcome of this election. Would it not be some pretty profound, poetic, political justice if those drawn out of our democracy through these voter suppression and voter intimidation tactics, when you reach out to them face to face, eyeball to eyeball, human to human, and bring them into this democracy, they become the margin of victory when we win this on election night. You all with me on this? Well, it's going to take all of us. I'm grateful that you're here. It's an honor to be back with you. We're going to hang out for a little bit, to take pictures, to say hello. We're going to ask you to sign up with our volunteers in the yellow vests. And one last request, if you do take a picture, please put it up on your favorite social media platform, and in your own words, from your own heart, describe why you are here right now, why this is the election of your lifetime. I may or may not reach your friends, family, neighbors, classmates, and colleagues, but you certainly will, and that's going to be a very powerful thing in this election. All right, Kama, listos? All right, we're ready for you all. Thank you so much.